I'm Paul Greenberg, and welcome to the premiere episode of Rated PG. Hey, all, listen, this is the premiere episode of the show, so you've got to bear with me while I explain the show. But this is the only time I'm explaining the show. The next episode, our next show will not have that. So here's the deal. We have an audience, and Brent and I know this when it comes to CRM players, of a B2B audience. There's no question about it. But here's the thing about B2B audiences. It's made up of actual people. It's not just a broad audience, right? And there are human beings in that audience. And guess what? They don't want to talk about business all day, right? Well, actually, some of them do. And those are the people who are never going to watch this show. I can guarantee that. So kind of came up with the idea, and kudos to Brent who came up with the name of the show. But the idea of the show is very simple. Again, once again, just because I only have a right brain, it's a right brain show, right? So there are 3 segments to this show. Segment 1, which is called Inside Out, is where I invite people who are in the B2B universe, and I will explain who they are today as we get to the segment, who are doing things that are really, really interesting outside of business. Right? We're going to talk about the stuff they're doing and how much they enjoy it, how much it means to them, what they're planning on it with it, just cool things that are out there that are being done by people who happen to live in a B2B world. Segment 2, which is called Outside In, is where someone who is not from the B2B world is doing something cool that would be relatable, I guess I can say, to people who are in the B2B world in some way. And then segment 3, which is called PaulSide Reviews, which is kind of ironic because obviously it's a play on poolside, and Chanel Wheeler came up with the name for this one. I'm a horrible swimmer. B, don't even like swimming. And C, never hang out at pools, right? But I do like the name, so we're going to stick with it. And originally the plan was I was going to review something of interest. The only thing I wasn't going to review is enterprise software or any business software, really. But then I started thinking about, let's add a top 10 list. Okay, well, I brought this to the Good Place, which is the CRM Players happy hour that we have 3:30 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays. But Brent and I will not be there today, but it still might be happening today. But 3:30 p.m. Eastern, and the thing about it is, I said, okay, what do you guys think about this? Do a topic, review something, then do a top 10 list. And one of our guests today said, well, I think top 5 given the time, and they were right about that. And I said, all right, suggest one, and they did, right? And then I asked for one other person from the Good Place to volunteer who wanted to come on the show, and I got the volunteer. Well, the net of all of this is there will not be a review of anything ever. We're going to do top 5 lists from here on for the PaulSide Review segment. So there was already a change in the format. The only other thing I want to say before we get down to it is that it's a work in progress. So, for example, I'm going to show you something really quickly here. Excuse me while I log in real quick on this. Okay. And at one point, I was considering this as my background and actually do it in the dark like that. I thought, oh, that's pretty cool, until I could actually see the outline of other things there. But I'm still would like some sort of dramatic background, because what you're seeing now is basically my rerun of CRM plays, right? So I want to change that. I have a mic I'm going to use next time, which is this one, which is a different kind of mic. It's much more natural sounding and less bassy. I'm going to experiment, but I need feedback from people to tell me, and I want you to participate on the show. And here's the other side of it. I'm going to put out the word sometimes on top 5 lists out there on LinkedIn and ask who has it. If you are the one I choose to do the top 5 list, then you host the top 5 list segment as our first guest on It Will today. So work in progress, feedback, participation by you on the show itself, and 3 right brain segments. And that's kind of how we're going to go. All right. So tell you what we're going to do now. Why don't we get down to it? And we'll start by introducing the first time ever. Well, it's actually, yes, it is the first time ever, the Inside Out segment. And again, one reminder, person in the B2B world or people who are doing really interesting things. So let's go. Welcome, Thomas. Welcome, Nicole. So let me tell you about my lovely guest before you guys even say a word. I just want to tell you, I want to tell the audience about you. So I've known Thomas actually quite a long time. He's an industry analyst and has worked in, we pretty much are at every event together. He's a very active part of the CRMCX community. And I've known Nicole a little less in terms of length of time, but I met her when she was an executive over at Microsoft. And I, of course, given the last name, I kind of figured out that they were married. Although Thomas's last name is not a head CRM, just so you know that, right? It's, Wieberneit. Now, these 2 lovely people are doing something really, really cool. And honestly, if you actually, this is how cool it is. I just want you to see this look before, and we'll get down to it. Look at that. Look at that face on those 2, right? That's happy, man. And that actually has some bearing. So, Thomas, Nicole, welcome. And, tell us what you're doing.
Who starts? Ladies first.
What we are doing. I think personally, I try to combine 2 things in my life: having fun, driving experiences, so enjoying life, and making some money while doing that at the same time. So how can we combine these 2 things? And travel was always something which was very, very big for me. Thomas will know that I have holidays booked about 9 months ahead of the time and 3, 4. So even when we left in New Zealand, we were all over the show. I got that kind of chain and habit from my parents. So, and then the next thing was, or the third thing out of that. So first, always traveled with the parents, then got it into the family. And then third, how can we think about it? And how can we do something now that we're getting more into the retirement age, but how can we bridge that? And that is then where the whole idea of circumnavigation of the world. And I can tell you that's probably more Thomas kind of ideal life, being on oceans for 2 weeks at a time. I probably fly with the dog, but the traveling and going from port to port on Anchorage Place, how can we do that? And then coming on that idea, I always try to think about how can I make money out of that. So we rented Airbnb when it wasn't a big topic. I'm actually renting out my swimming pool for swimming lessons in the summer. So that's just another one. Yeah.
So tell, let's get to circumnavigation here for a minute, because that is astounding to me. I mean, I know I've started calling one Thomas Admiral, actually, because
Nicole. I'm only the driver.
Well, no, you could be Vice Admiral if you'd like. I mean, that's okay. I'll go with that. So Admiral and Vice Admirals, I know one of the ways you circumnavigate the globe normally is, as you put it, Nicole, 2 weeks on water, right? So at a time, and that means a boat. So what in the world possessed you to buy what is an absolutely beautiful boat? And is that a catamaran? Okay, so why don't you also tell people while you're explaining all this what a catamaran actually is? That would help me actually a lot.
Well, a catamaran basically is a boat with two hulls.
Yeah. Why two hulls?
Various reasons. There's let's say, kind of a living point of view, living perspective. Two hulls means that the centers of uplift are outside, so means they're more stable, more flat. A monohull with only one hull goes sideways when the sail that acts as a wing has lift as well as drag. And that needs to get somehow accommodated for, and that's why it's tipping over.
Okay.
Catamaran apparently, if it tips, that's bad. Let's put it like that. And the other things, they're usually a bit faster than monohulls.
So does the catamaran have does that boat sails and an engine, or is it just sails, or I don't know.
It has two engines too, because that's basically regulation and ease of use. In these days and times, one doesn't, apart from not being allowed to, one really doesn't want to sail into a marina.
Okay, fair enough. Let's say smashing into the dark. Look, I had one experience sailing in my life on the Hudson River with a friend of mine in college. His name is Scott. I'm blocking his last name. Scott. He lived in Briarcliff Manor. Anyway, so Scott Gleason. So Scott takes me out on a sailboat, and the weather turns really bad, and we start. Let's put it this way: we didn't capsize, but we were pretty close. And I'm a really bad swimmer. I can swim, but I'm bad. And so I have never sailed since. Now, cruises all day and night. I don't have any problem with cruising. I love cruising, in fact. But this, way beyond my comfort zone. So first of all, congrats that you even are doing this. Secondly, where'd you go about finding this thing? I mean, how did you find a catamaran that you wanted?
Well, that one was a longer story. We were looking for off and on for 3 years, about different sizes, types, brands in mind. And actually last year we wanted to get a boat in the Caribbean of another brand. You see the brand at the bottom there below the name.
Yep.
Of another brand. And as we are living on the East Coast, the Caribbean is quite good, actually. But I'm trying to formulate that politically sort of correct. Let's say the brokers and we didn't really get together. So we had boats in mind that we wanted to buy from independents. And you usually, buying a house, you need a broker to help.
Yeah.
And nobody wanted to help with that. Why? Because they wanted to sell their inventory. And their inventory was more expensive, older, less equipped, and inferior. Yeah. Hence, we got in touch again. We found that one on the web, actually, brokered by someone who we are surprised that he still wanted to make business with us, as we bailed out 2 times already. And heck, he did make businesses with us, and we got happy.
Yeah.
I think what I would like to add, there was a time constraint that pushed us, and we needed to move quickly.
Yeah.
So there was, we sold our house in Seattle, and that went quite up with COVID and after that. So, and like most of people know, you can tax-free get $500,000 of gain, and after that, you pay taxes on it. And when you put a boat into a business and you run it as a business and you really maintain it, not just putting it into a charter company, but really run it as your business and put time and not only money into it, then you can depreciate that asset in the first year against your personal taxes. So there's a tax rule. So to get that now, we sold the house in June last year. We had to find something very quickly within half a year. And that whole kind of selling, moving the house was an idea that came to mind at an evening, joking with my daughters. And 2 months later, we basically moved out of the house to get it staged and sold.
Oh,
So
that was April,
we
yeah.
decompressed the timeline on when we wanted to have a boat and then needed to accelerate it because of the tax law to take advantage of it.
Holy cow. So wait, where did you end up living once you moved out of the house?
We lived in a small 3-bedroom Airbnb for 6 or 8 weeks, I think, was it? Yeah.
Somewhere in the forest, yeah.
Yep. In north of Bellevue.
Wow. My brother actually lived on a houseboat for a little while in Seattle, right? Actually, my niece is out there, and they moved back here, and now they're moving to New York and buying an apartment on the Upper West Side, which is a big leap from a houseboat in Seattle.
Made me jealous.
Yeah. Well, no, me too. He's moving in mid-September for that. So you've got to, obviously, it's a great name, and I'm assuming that's your name for it, not the original owners.
Oh, that was the name she had.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And then you bought from the right owner, man. I'll tell you that, if that's her name.
Yeah.
I mean, did you change anything on this? Did you add the detailing on the front, or was that there too?
No, so that was all there. So the only thing that we really changed was we removed the HF system, so the high frequency radio with the big ass antenna that was on there.
Way better anyway. So I mean, to me it's a beautiful boat. And where's that picture actually taken? The location, do you know?
Not fully sure, because that was taken by a friend who took her for a while. That might be, it's Morea very likely. Else it is Raiatea, not Raiatea, Huayin.
Okay,
French
well,
Polynesia.
Maybe we can pin some down. I want to show people a little bit of what it's like to be on the boat, and you thankfully gave me a short and nice video for that. And so let's take a look. I mean, it's so peaceful. Now this is, I deliberately chose this one for the reason you're going to see right now. There's the boat. So where was this taken, number one? And tell people a little bit about the actual, what navigating and the sailing part that you're actually doing, or do you have
to? So that was taken last April, well, last month, when I brought her to a haul out in Raiatea from Tahiti. The island that you have seen in the beginning is Huahin. And hi, Sandy. So that was Huahin. What does it take? Well, it's basically like, in simple terms, like driving a car.
Okay.
There are some rules that one needs to adhere to. There's a bit more physics that one needs to well, you can't go against physics, that one should adhere to, else ouch. And then it's about practice. Just about doing it and enjoying it. And for me, unlike Nicole, so, well, for me, the road is the objective, not necessarily only the destination.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the boat, when it comes to boats, I kind of lean in Nicole's direction on this one, though. I mean, I am in awe of the peacefulness of that, just the water sound of that in that short video. I'm in awe of it. I feel it. at the same time, it's a boat, and the only one I was on almost capsized. So the only boat I ever was like that close to having to be there. A cruise ship is not like that at all.
Maybe you should come and join us in Moorea, Tahiti. There is also some cruise ships around, but we can get you to the same places they go.
Well, yeah,
And
but
this
you
better
have the
way of
same. You
cruising.
don't have the same restaurants that they do, right? I mean, that's not that I wouldn't do it. I do it because it was your boat. That's why I do it. I wouldn't do it because it was a boat. I do it because it's your boat. I would definitely do that because I would love to be on a boat that you guys own, and I just would because you're my friends, and it would be really cool to be on my friends' boat.
Invited. And
But-
Nicole is quite a good cook. You don't want to eat my food.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, actually, maybe that's the next step for you guys is you set up an arrangement with some A-list chef, and he ends up being a partner of yours on the boat. That's what they do on cruise lines, of course. They had Daniel Boulou, who is one of the great chefs. It's my favorite restaurant in New York City of all time, which is Restaurant Daniel. It's a 2 or 3 star. It's a 2-star Michelin, and I love it. But Daniel Boulou has a partnership with Celebrity, which is the cruise line we take the most because it's the best. All in all, we've taken some of the higher level ones like Regent and Silver Seas and all of that. But for the amount of money you paid for that, and relative to the increase of quality or value you get, it's just not even close to worth it.
You can also think about it differently.
All right.
And by the way, I have been on a lot of cruises. I have cruising crazy parents.
Okay, what's your favorite cruise line before you get into anything?
Oh, you will not know them. It's AIDA. It's a German one, which is super fun when I was young. And if I could I would go on one of the Hapag-Lloyd ones going down to Antarctica.
Yeah.
That's the upscale side of the house. But the nice thing is about that you can go and try local high-end cuisine when you're going. So you think about you cruising Bora Bora or Hua Hin or Moorea. There is these upscale restaurants and these upscale hotels.
Right.
Instead of paying their big price tag to stay in the overwater bungalow, you are on your little own overwater bungalow, and then you take your little boat to go there, and you can directly there, you land there, and you can sample the food there. So you have that variation that you can cook themselves. And by the way, you can charter a sailing boat where you can charter with a cook and a captain, but you can also then try these other things. So it's the flexibility on what you can do here it's really nice. And that is what I really like if you're going sailing in the Mediterranean, where let it be Croatia or things, you can get to really, really nice places, and then you can have that joy instead of being on these big boats.
Well, I mean, I happen to agree with you. Obviously, you're the travel agent in the family here, right? Because you're very convincing. I mean, you really are, and I agree with you. And I actually, when I would travel to speak, for example, I spoke in Zagreb at one point, and I have my host was the former mayor of Zagreb, and at the same time was the academic who wrote a book on CRM in Croatian, right? And I did the forward for him, and then I came and spoke, and he and his wife were just the most amazing hosts, and they took me all over the place, and I fell in love with the cuisine and actually just with the whole country, really. But the food was out of this world, and it was all local and fresh, and the wines were excellent. Still totally underrated as far as pricing versus and availability. Okay, so aside from all that, I know that one of the things you do when you're not using the boat is renting it out for trips. First, so to close out, where is the boat currently, and how does somebody actually rent it if they'd like to, charter it for, I don't know, a week or a couple of days or a month or an afternoon? What do they do?
Oh, that's easy. So let's start with the first question. As far as I know, she has a week downtime, means she's in the marina in Tahiti right now,
Okay.
or else somewhere in French Polynesia.
Okay.
How to get there? Well, there are two easy ways. Nicole or I, just contact us, or www.sailingbhappy.com.
What a great website name, Sailing Be Happy. So, all right. Well, thank you, guys. I couldn't have started this whole show any better, honestly. I love this stuff, and I love you guys. And so this, to me, is the kind of, I just want people to hear about this. I think people should know about it. You've got full lives, and I think people want to hear about people's full lives and what they can do, and how you guys are, what can I say? You're a married couple that other people should aspire to. So thank you. Kiss to both. And I will see you. I know I will see you minimally at absolute worst length at IRL 2027 in March of 2027. We're working on the date, first week in March. But hopefully I'll see you here in DC before that sometime, so you come out here. I got you. Okay. Just make it, come on out. Love you. We'll talk to you both very soon. Okay. That was, I don't know, man. That makes me happy. That's all I can say. I'm just like their boat. I could be happy when I get to see those guys. All right. So we're now going to go to the next segment. And keep in mind, again, this is all new. So I will introduce the individual who's coming on when we get to the next segment. But this is a segment called Outside In. And as I mentioned earlier, the concept is a person who's not necessarily in the B2B industry, who's doing something fascinating to the human beings out there, including those in the B2B industry, and has a really rich and I'll call it a varied background to talk about, and the expertise to really, really do this. And we'll get into the individual in just a moment, but let's go to Outside In. Welcome, Todd Caflisch. Right. So before you say a word, I'm gonna tell people about you. So I met Todd, got to be 12, 13 years ago, I think.
Oh yeah, it's been quite a while.
Yeah, at SEAT. For those who don't know what SEAT is, it's Sports Entertainment Alliance of Technology. Todd and I were both very active in it. Todd has been in the sports world for a lifetime, really. He's like a pioneer in the technology side of the sports world. In fact, I think at one point you worked with the Vikings. I think that's when I met you. You were working for the Vikings at the time.
That was my last team gig. Yes.
Yeah, I think. Well, it was. I know.
I think I knew you before that.
Yeah,
though.
you did. You actually did. It was because
that was only 10 years ago.
Yeah, I think we've known each other since 2013, because that's when I first SEAT. Right, was 2013. Kansas City. Right, it was the Kansas City SEAT. And so Todd and I have known each other all the time. When we at SEAT, we see each other. So the other day, it's now a few weeks, I'm looking out on LinkedIn and I see Todd talking about smart homes. And I'm thinking, what is he doing smart homes? So I go in and I start looking at stuff he's got links to. And he is doing something absolutely phenomenal when it comes to smart home. And I'm a lunatic when it came to it. It became my big project when I retired, was to build out this home, kind of retrofit this for a smart home. But Todd, operating from a brand new place, is doing something called this. And what a perfect name. So Todd, tell us about this. I mean, first of all, I just can't tell you how much I love the name, especially loving that song without the word smart when I was a little kid, right? So, Todd, tell us about you, it. I mean, this is just mind-blowing to me.
Yeah. Thanks, Paul. Man, I tell you, it's a tough act to follow, with the Be Happy boat, though, to be really honest with you. All things being equal, I'd maybe rather be happy, right now. So anyways, my wife and I, after I left the Vikings, I started doing sports technology consulting work. We came back to Texas, and we started looking around for places to build a house. This was probably about 6 years ago. Our oldest son and his family live in Amarillo. We visited them one weekend, and we found a piece of property in Canyon, Texas, just south of Amarillo. Loved it, bought it, and moved to Amarillo in 2020, August. And we were going to start, in planning. We had already been working on some house plans and custom build stuff from an architecture perspective. And we found a builder we liked, and we were literally getting ready to break ground, and the pandemic hit. And of course, everybody knows that story about, labor was hard to come by, supply chain was awful, and cost of materials was skyrocketing. So our builder told us to wait, probably good 2-3 years at least. And so we kind of bided our time. In the meantime, it gave me a lot of opportunity, all of the smart home integration stuff and how to accomplish that, and like you said, I've worked in the sports business for my whole career, basically. And, in that process, or through those years, I've had the opportunity, from a technology leadership perspective to drive, integration, in venues as far as, upgrades and that type of thing, or remodels, but also build from scratch stadiums, arenas, practice facilities, mixed use developments. So I really kind of leaned into a lot of that, and, took real, because it was a greenfield project. I mean, it was livestock land where the house sits. And so it's very flat, nothing on it. So it was clean slate. Anyways, so building literally from the ground up, infrastructure all the way, up through the roof. And so anyways, we in 24, we get ready to break ground again. And then I end up, with the opportunity to go to Paris and do tech support for the Olympics and Paralympics over the summer. So, kind of continued to tinker with the plan of the house, and then got home in September. And that fall, we kind of put the plans in place and broke ground in January of 25, and kind of wrapped things up, moved in right around the beginning of March this year. So it's been, kind of a whirlwind, unpacking boxes and working on, activating all of the technology that I integrated. The big key really was, not overwhelming people with technology, sort of taking that mindset that we use in pro sports, especially around premium spaces, that, everybody wants the easy button and all the technology, but they don't want to see it, and they want it to always work, and that type of thing. So that was really the approach I took, with like smart switches for lighting and ceiling fans and things like that. So they would literally operate just like a standard light switch for people that, either didn't want to mess with any of the technology or didn't understand it or whatever.
So look at this. This is your back end, right? And
that's the rack in my.
But here's the thing: you have all that on the front end, to your point, and my wife's the same on this too. Is she doesn't care about it being smart. She just wants it to work.
Yep.
Right. And to the extent she can just, toggle a switch or press a button, she's fine. But she's not about to use smart commands. But to make it simple, you have to do all this in the back here, right? And you did this. Like I have let's say a smaller version of that. Like you have, it looks like 72 ports there on that one, on the back end there, something like that.
Well, I mean, there's a 48 port PoE Alta Labs switch that drives the network. But I mean, I've got about 3,000 feet of Cat 6 running throughout the house. I got audio cabling. It's pretty wired. I mean, that was one of my rules, is that just to sort of save a lot of traffic and management on the Wi-Fi side. If it had an Ethernet port, it got a wire. So.
Yep. Yeah, I'm learning that in retrospect at my house now. So, for example, I have a number of cameras that I will mix. I had typically they would either be plugged in or they would be battery solar powered driven. Well, slowly but surely, I still have one that's plugged in, but slowly but surely, with the exception of one which has no way of being anything but solar powered where it is, I'm moving everything onto PoE powered. And it's just so much better as I'm learning as I go. So, all right. So you have all this back end complexity that you put together, right? I mean, that's the thing. I had somebody who helped me do that. I've learned it, and I only use managed switches now, but even so. But then you're starting to get these things going on. Like, look at the thing that blew me away about your project, aside from the fact is you're doing it, without a whole lot of, I mean, obviously have to have some external help, you're not necessarily going to run, drive holes into the earth and then run cable through the earth. But look at the range of stuff you're covering here, real world results. Here's the audio, the lighting, etc. The stuff you didn't do, the refinement, integration, and art of, I'm not sure what, and then this, obviously, the optimization and personalization. I mean, I presume, and I know you and I talked about this a little bit, that you're obviously doing, you obviously will be doing smart home consulting too, because honestly, that range is deep, and it is, and it's extensive too. There's width, depth, and breadth to the range of what you're covering here. So, for example, when you're talking, I'm going to just randomly pick something here, right? Because I think, and especially given that I'm in CRM and customer experience and customer engagement, I'm going to personalization. Okay. When you're talking about personalizing these kind of systems and approaches and equipment and methodologies and results and outcomes, what do you mean? What, can you give us a detail, tell us a story maybe of something you did in your house that makes some sense?
Well, it's really, I mean, a lot of that is setting up, routines that deal with even things as simple as like NFC, near field communications. So when, the Wi-Fi network detects, your phone, let's say you've been out, that, depending on the time of day, it could turn on lights in certain areas of the home, if it's dark outside, that type of thing. Or even, being able to say things like, Alexa, what's my flash briefing? And it gives you, brief news update, that, is tailored or curated specifically for your interest, things like that. Even like, you talked about your cameras and, being on PoE and all that. But like, I'm working on right now, one of the personalizations is integrating our camera that shoots kind of down the driveway with our garage door, system, the garage door openers that, when it literally reads certain license plates, it'll automatically open, one of the garage doors, depending on whose license plate it is, being able to do that, for like our family that lives nearby when they pull in, so they, can come into the house, that kind of thing. But then also, a lot of things like that integrations with the smart blinds that, have to do with sensors tied in with the thermostats, the smart thermostats that, where there's either ambient light or temperature in certain rooms, that it'll automatically start to open or close the blinds based on season. So if it's August, it close them because the room, to keep the room from heating up, or, if it's January, it might open them to kind of, get some solar heating going on in the room, kind of thing. Basically, that's to balance, or reduce energy cost, but also, primarily it's for comfort. There's a lot of different things, it's pretty amazing. And that's what I love about working in technology, is there's always new stuff, so, I don't know, maybe it's, my ADHD or something, but it's, there's always some new toys to play with.
Oh, new toys, new things to tweak. Like,
Yep.
You're talking about the license plate integration. So I'm doing a similar thing. In fact, one of the camera, which I would have had replaced yesterday, but it was raining, so our guy couldn't come. And so it's next week instead. But the camera I'm replacing, the one solar powered one with, it's going to run PoE to it. Because, one of the things with license plate integration is, and recognition is, it's got to be 24/7 on, right? And live. So I'm replacing the camera. I'm going to do integration, and it's integrating with the license plate recognition from Frigate, right? So it'll be identified through Frigate, right? There's all these cool things you can just kind of do. And so I have one last thing before we close that I want to talk to you about, okay?
Okay.
And this comes from something I did see on your website, on Smart Home. So smarthomeontherange.com, I highly recommend you go to it. Aside from the fact it's got all these details that we're talking about, it's extremely well written, and it's laid out really nicely. So it's very clear, very easy. There was a review on there of this robot vacuum, the Roborock Saros Z70. I hadn't read your review, although I hadn't read the review it linked to, but I literally bought that vacuum cleaner, that's exact one, about 3 weeks ago, and I'm using it now, and I love it. I mean, the arm is a little, but the cleaning capabilities, everything about the coolness of the whole thing, the look and feel of it. So talk about this. Just talk about how you talk about a product like this to close this session out.
Yeah. I like I said, there's always, new toys. So, but they're not always good toys, that's the thing. And, the ones that make my blog, they're what I would recommend, what I would, buy in my house, or I have, the review I put up on the Limo 1 Plus, the robot lawnmower. I have one of those, and it's amazing, just to, it's going to be kind of fun this summer to sit on my back porch, drinking a beer, watching the robot lawnmower cut my grass while my neighbors are all driving around on their zero turns, sweating in the hot Texas sun. So, but that's really kind of it. It's kind of the neat new stuff, the things that, again, I would buy myself, or that I do have. It all depends. Like I said, there's things we didn't put in the house. So, there's some stuff that didn't kind of make the list. Really the kind of one of the core elements in the whole design process, and as we moved through even construction, was really intentionality. And that was, thinking through things ahead of time. Like, I was never a big fan. We have a couple of the robot vacuums, never a big fan of how they sit against like the baseboard, kind of sticking out in a room or a hallway. So the two that we have have built in like little robot vacuum garages, that have power outlets in there. So it kind of hides all that stuff. There's one, between, in the buffet of the dining room to kind of do the main part of the house. And then there's one at the end of the guest hall under some shelves where we display some of my grandmother's art. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's pretty funny. I mean, the whole smart home on the range website, was kind of, not the primary thought, but I started realizing I had all of this documentation I was collecting, and it would be kind of a shame not to, put it, consolidate all that someplace. And, that's when it kind of the light bulb went on that, this could end up being, kind of a consulting opportunity, that, could potentially drive some revenue.
Yeah, well, that's that. So I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that if people want to reach you to bring you on as smart home consultant, they could do so via Smart Home on the Range.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Absolutely.
And then I have a second question for you. Final one is, from time to time, I'm going to want to bring people back like you, if you wouldn't mind, to be kind of resident expert on smart homes for the show. Are you open to that?
Oh, absolutely.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
I mean, like I said, I mean, I love it, and, I dig what you're doing, Paul. I think it's amazing. And, I am here to support you any possible way I can.
Well, I know this. We will see each other at SEAT 2027.
It's looking pretty good.
2026,
we'll make
at
it.
the end of June 28th through 30th, for others who might be interested. Thank you, Todd. Once again, big hug.
Awesome. Yes,
everything.
absolutely.
And I will talk to you very soon. And you'll be back very soon too.
Wonderful. Looking forward to it.
See
Thank you, Paul.
Friend. Bye. Okay, so we're moving now to the final segment. Look, again, work in progress. I love this stuff, but where you can see me improving, because I don't think there's any room for improvement for our guests. They were perfect as far as I'm concerned. But where you can see me improving, please let me know. So we're now going to move to the final segment of the show, which is, as I said, it's called PaulSide Reviews. We're going to do a top 5 list. And the interesting thing about this is the originator of the top 5 list, plus one other guest and me, will be talking about that. And talking about the top 5 list. And the originator of the top 5 list will be the host of the segment. So let's go to the segment, and we'll talk with the guests and the host to be in just a moment. Welcome, Erik, and welcome, Dean. How you guys doing?
Doing well.
I I know you both have had a chance to watch the show so far. How you like it so far? You can be candid. I mean, this is literally a work in progress show. Okay, so if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But and being in New York, as Dean can attest to, I can take it. Right.
Whoops.
Dean, you're muted. Yeah, not hearing you. Still not.
Now he's formally muted.
No, that wasn't me. That was him muting and unmuting himself. I'm not sure why, but you are muted. Okay. Nope.
Nothing.
Let me. Oh, wait. You just said I heard a word.
Now, hello, testing.
You're good.
There we go.
Whatever you just did it. Yeah. Okay, let's try that again. Welcome, Erik and Dean, and so far, feedback.
Okay, I want to go on Thomas's smart boat now.
Yeah,
combine the two.
Yeah,
that's just amazing. I mean, Thomas and Nicole. You know, it's funny. As long as I've known him, that was not a place I expected him to go. I knew he liked water. I didn't know he liked it, but I didn't really think he would actually go to the extent of buying a boat, right? So, which was pretty damn cool that he and Nicole did that, and making that decision to just sell the house and boom. I mean, and then Todd, I've known Todd a long time, and the smart home thing was like a bonus. He's a lovely man. He truly is. He's like a truly good person. And I've always appreciated him for that alone, even. And of course, he's an expert. And he's one of these, like Steve Reese, who's going to be launching a show called Behind the Playbook Unfiltered at Seat. Actually, we're launching the show. He and Todd are two of the people who were pioneers in the technology side of sports. And so a lot of the stuff you see now, which is all this advanced uses of technology for both visual and engagement purposes, they were the ones back in the day putting in the backbone for all this stuff. So, and then doing the smart home thing's really cool. All right, so let's get on to our segment, okay? So Erik, you came up with this list, and I'll once I get to the title of the list and announce it, Erik, you're in charge. All right. And that's going to be, by the way, for all those who might be listening, going forward, that's how this is going to work. Okay. So the person who suggests the list will be the host of the segment. And then me and one other guest will be on to be part of the segment. So, Erik, you can read this when we get to it, okay? And then it's your baby.
All right. So, top 5 things you can't forget on a plane. We were talking about this in The Good Place, and some of this is the stuff you never even take out of maybe your carry-on bag or something like that. And I have to preface this: I never check luggage guy. I travel light and tight. If it can't fit in a bag that goes in the overhead and underneath the seat in front of me, you can see how many times I've heard that statement. It's not coming with me typically. I just can't do it. Can't do it. So let's get started here, I guess, with my list. USB adapter plugs. You never know. Is this one of those planes that has a regular power plug? Is it a USB-C? Is it the new USBs? And I've got adapter plugs so that any of my cables can work. I can plug a lightning device. I can, do a USB-C device. I can USB-A device. Always have those. Now, I carry a physical book, not digital, an honest to goodness physical book, because I can use it whenever I want to. There's none of that, put things away, hold it up. Did I power it up or something like that? The full water bottle, the number of times there's been turbulence and there's no service and I'm thirsty, I've got the water bottle going. I have a physical notepad because random things come to mind that I should write a blog about, or I should do it with a client. So I'm constantly going through notepads. And the last one is spare clothes. That's for when they do take the bag. You're the last one to board and say, we're going to have to gate check it. And you don't see it for another 3 days. It happened to me more than once. So in the bottom of my bag, you will find a spare shirt, socks, and underpants in every one of my bags to make sure, just in case either something gets dumped on me or I show up without anything. So that was my first list. That I did get to see everybody else's list. Part of this is triggering, but I got it. What's wrong on my list, Dean? What am I missing here? What did I do wrong?
There's nothing wrong on your list. The adapter plugs are sort of kind of on my list. It's funny because some of what's on your list is just on my what I do without even thinking that I have to have it. So where I have chargers and cords, that's where I have the USB stuff. Okay, my meds. I have to have my meds within reach, because if I have to get off the plane or whatever, I can't be without them. Splenda. There's this imitation Splenda, or God forbid they give you that gunk called stevia. It's disgusting. So I want Splenda. I always have Splenda. my iPhone and my laptop. I mean, without those, why am I going where I'm going? And then a flash drive with my important files in case whatever I have in the cloud or whatever, if that should fail, because, you know, shit happens. So anything that's current that I'm working on that's important, I have to have those immediately available to me. Even if, say, my laptop starts to say, I'm not working today, I can plug this in somewhere. So those are my killer 5.
Now, I'm laughing because, like, when I saw yours, I saw iPhone and laptop. I'm like, well, of course I'd have those. And then I started thinking, how many things do we think? Of course I would have that, shove that in the bag. Until then, we suddenly discover we forgot it. I love the flash drive only because I worked for a company at one point where, for security purposes, they locked down the USB ports and you couldn't use the flash drives on your laptops, because that was a big CISO thing for a while. Thou shalt not ever plug in an external drive to a company machine. And so I got into this habit. I don't care. Now, what's really funny is I had a friend from that company reach out to me and said, by any chance, do you have that old file? I said, I don't have any old files except from this era, because after that, they locked down the flash drives and I couldn't run my backups anymore, except in the company cloud, which you have access to my cloud files or you don't. All right, Paul.
All right, let's take it forward. So, I mean, I overlap a lot with you guys, although if you'll notice, with Dean, you is 60% technology. I'm 80% technology, right? And laptop with accessories kind of covers most of what you guys were covering. It is flash drives, it is chargers and cables. And typically, I mean, I use look, I don't use Lightning anymore. Thank God, all the new Apple products are USB-C and Thunderbolt, so they're interchangeably usable. So, but I have adapters for every single possible one. I have those units where it's like a round ball, and then you can pull out every cable, and has one. The foundational cable is the one you plug in, is the USB-C cable. Typically, I have those. I have a million cables. The meds. The interesting thing, I don't need none of the meds I take, and it's really only one, which is Eliquis. I need to take while I'm on the plane, unless it's an international flight. But I need to have them, because missing a day or two could be pretty bad. That said, you know, I'm 76 years old. I'm going to have meds, you know, so what can I do? Unlike you, Erik, I used to do exactly what you did, carry a physical book, until I tried to carry my own books, right? Right. And at that point, I realized, wait, these are way too heavy for me to carry, right? Because with Serum at the Speed of Light's final edition was 850 pages, and it weighed like 3 pounds, right? And Brent and I once did a actual episode on alternate uses of Serum at the Speed of Light, and it was like doing bicep curls, using them as bricks to replace actual bricks, doing step aerobics off the book, and doing an odd job like killing a machine, just throwing them at somebody and killing them, right? I mean, that's literally how heavy this book was. And I realized, if I actually want to transport my books and actually read some stuff that's interesting to me, I better find something else. And it was an iPad mini as opposed to a Kindle, because I like color and I like to be able to do other things on them too, right? So the iPad mini's become indispensable to me, and the high quality Bluetooth earbuds. Now, interestingly enough, the AirPods Pro are becoming the substitute for that, because I have actual hearing problems, and weirdly, my $4,000 hearing aids do okay with it, but the AirPods Pro are way better in terms of solving my hearing issues. I can actually hear very clearly with them. So that becomes super indispensable. Typically it could be, but I also carry these sleep earbuds too, that you put on while you're asleep, and they're designed for that. And it's not because of the sound, it's just the way they're designed, and they're ideal. And then of course the iPhone. So, you know, ultimately I think we all realize we're going to carry some form of phone and laptop and, you know, things like that. It's interesting how the rest kind of varies a little bit here and there. I mean, are there things that would have been on you guys, the sixth thing?
Yeah, I was going to exactly ask that, because looking at this, No, on the thing, I've got a CPAP. I've got a portable CPAP that is always in my carry-on. I didn't even, that I have to have in there. Sometimes there'll just be a random snack. I'll have like a protein bar in my bag. Same thing. It's like all of a sudden delays, shifts, whatever. I've sat on the tarmac for 2 hours, and I've actually given my stuff away to, like, I'll admittedly at least once with a mother with a kid. She's like, they're stuck, and I'm like, I don't know if your kid's allergic, but you're welcome to take this this random, unfortunately, like peanut butter power bar that I've got sitting in my bag. If that'll help out somebody, I could afford to miss a meal.
Hey, Dean,
the one thing that I will carry either a small box or one of those little floppy cellophane contained of tissues, because I start to sneeze, or I'm allergic to something, or God forbid, sitting near me is somebody wearing cologne or perfume that does not agree with my nose, and I'll have a sneezing fit. And it's not like I can say, flight attendant, tissues fast, because they're busy. So I carry tissues with me. Recently I changed my carry bag for my laptop, not my plain bag, and I found all kinds of things in it. I found pens that I didn't know I had. I found paper clips and alligator clips, and just a variety of things that at one point or another I realized I needed. Oh, and the Post-its. These are like little necessities at one time or another. And as I'm cleaning this out, I'm thinking, shouldn't I have these or not? And the decision was, nah, and sometimes yes. Oh, and business cards. Now, there's an argument that in this day and age, you don't need business cards. But I was just at a meeting a few weeks ago where business cards were just necessary. And so business cards.
Well, I will say for me, and as we close out, and Erik, you're going to do the close of the show. Okay, that's what I think. That's something I literally on the fly just added. That the host of the third segment of this segment will actually close out the show, and then I'll start the outro. Okay, so that's how this is going to go. So anyway, for me, it actually goes to a point of one of your top 5, Erik, which is I always have like 20 pens and a notepad. And also things I printed out I want to read, which is the other thing that I just shove into the bag as I'm leaving. I'd rather than try to find them online or find a PDF on a mini, which is not easy, and knowing the Wi-Fi is going to suck on the plane, I just print them out and then I read them on the plane, or I read them when I get to my hotel, but they're in the bag in any case. And those are my 3. All right. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for being basically you guys are the first, right, to do the PaulSide Views and top 5 on Rated PG. So Erik, why don't you take us to the outro and say goodbye to people?
Thank you, everybody, for joining for the premiere episode of Rated PG. We started old school on a sailboat instead of with motors. Then we went to a smart home that got more technical. Then we went into chaos of what goes in the bag. Who knows what next episode will bring, but you should be here. And thanks for joining.
We'll see you on June 23rd.
This has been a Players Productions Network digital broadcast.